Look, just on the last issue there adverted to by my colleague with respect to WhatsApp, I think we should always be aware of the fact that software, all software, is constantly under threat by criminal elements. And the problem for us is that we have to catch them. They're working ahead of us all of the time, and we have to catch them. And our own cybersecurity network structure are excellent at the job they do, and I think we should acknowledge that at this point in time. Leader, 2 points for you today. One, yesterday we heard that the cost of renting an apartment in Sandyford is €2,100. The cost of the mortgage for the same apartment is €1,350. That's quite a bonanza for those who can afford to buy a load of apartments. I've brought it up before, Leader, and I know there's nobody in this House that is not concerned about the issue of homelessness and the various other problems with respect to housing. But you know, if we eased the banking rules, I have a relation myself who has spent $87,000 on rent in the last 7 years. And they could have bought an apartment and be well into the repayments of the mortgage at this stage, had they access to a mortgage. But the problem is they can't save the deposit. Where are they going to get the deposit when they're paying out that sort of money on rent? So from that point of view, I wonder, could we have the Minister for Finance in, Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, and maybe debate this issue and what influence can be brought to bear on the central bank with respect to the rules that apply. Second issue that I wanted to bring up was the Defence Forces. I want to first and foremost acknowledge the fact that there has been a report in today's Irish Times that there is in fact some ease coming towards the Defence Forces with respect to their pay claims. And I want to compliment the Pay Commission, the Defence Forces and the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, and the Chief of Staff in particular, for the work that they have done in trying to secure this. And I would hope that other public servants would not see this as a bonanza for everybody to jump on the bandwagon. The Defence Forces have been at the bottom of the heap for quite some time. Yesterday, the Minister told the Dáil that there were 200 members of the Defence Forces who had availed of sick leave, and it has been seen as an extraordinary high number. I'd ask people to bear in mind the Defence Forces are constantly working in very physical roles. And it's not uncommon for people to break their legs or to have back injuries or to have various other injuries. There is a problem, and the problem is that we don't have the infrastructure within the Defence Forces to treat them, so in many cases they have to go onto the public waiting list. And that's where the differential kicks in. Commissioned officers have access to private health insurance, whereas 85% of the Defence Forces, who are servicemen and women, enlisted men and women, non-commissioned officers, etc., do not have the funding to afford private health care, and as such they're dependent upon the public health system. God be with the days when I was in the army, when you got sick you had the hospitals to go to and you were treated totally by the Defence Forces, but sadly that's not the case anymore. And I don't want it to go out there that we now have malingerers in the Defence Forces. I think people need to realise that members of the Defence Forces abseil out of helicopters, engage in extremely physical activities. Quite a number of them are involved in sporting activities, and by their very nature these things bring injuries with them, and as such there is just a backlog there that needs to be treated. So Cathaoirleach, look, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Senator.